Right, so Jake Paul just flatline KO'd Tyron Woodley out cold in the 6th round of their boxing match and basically removed his soul in the ring. I don't know what's going to be left of Tyron Woodley. Jake Paul just sent him to the Shadow Realm permanently unless he redeems himself by beating Dylan Dennis in the next event that they have in the boxing ring. What a KO from Jake Paul. Let's just say it how it is. That was a brutal KO in the 6th round. It was a very close fight beforehand. A very boring fight beforehand as well. They're very lucky there was a KO, because if this one went to a decision, they might have got booed out of the arena, because there was a bunch of clinching going on non-stop. Every single engagement they had, they both duck into each other and clinch with each other. But Jake Paul eventually found the KO blow in the 6th round, which does make sense because Tyron Woodley, of course, took this fight on short notice. He got more and more tired as the rounds went on. And Jake Paul sent him to the Shadow Realm. He switched the lights off for good. Face plant KO. Brutal finish. He set it up, I believe, with like a fake jab to the body. Woodley started to parry the jab. And then Jake Paul, after the feint to the body, threw a big right hand over the top. And it perfectly landed on Woodley as he opened up his guard. I mean, it's a textbook KO. Fake low to the body. Throw a hook over the top. Woodley's arms go down to prevent Jake Paul from landing the body shot, and the big KO connects big time, puts him out cold in front of his poor mama Woodley. And yeah, I don't know if Woodley's going to continue after that one, because you can justify a decision lost that should have gone your way if you're dumb and believe me that it should have gone my way. But this one is like, there's no, the scorecards, Woodley's the only one who rocked him. Paul put Woodley out cold. Jake Paul's got hands. He's got power, and he flatline KO'd Woodley. People are already using the rigged stuff. Guys, I saw a comment that has a lot of likes on, I believe, MMA Island's Instagram page in the comments section where they posted the KO loss. People were saying, rigged, you can see Jake Paul give him the sign with his hand. Otherwise known as a feint to the body. I literally saw a comment that said that. Wow, so rigged. You can literally tell Jake... Like, you can literally see Jake set him up with the blatant tell with the left hand. Like he's trying to tell Woodley, like, this is the time you get KO'd. If Woodley's being paid to lose to Jake Paul, he is not being paid to get flatline KO'd face first and smash his nose into the canvas. There's no way. Like, I can maybe buy it if, like, Woodley went down and didn't get back up after a knockdown that didn't seem too hard, or Jake Paul dropped him with a body shot and it didn't look that hard and didn't even land on the liver, and Woodley went down and just didn't get back up, or something like that I could understand. But if you're going to get paid to lose to Jake Paul, I'd be like, hey, I'll take 500k, but I'm not taking the extra 500 to go face first into the canvas and get flatline KO'd and embarrassed. I'll just lose a decision and not throw any punches. Like... Woodley came out aggressive. He landed big shots. He went for some combination punches early on. They ended up clinching up a little bit more. Woodley was way more aggressive this time, landing a lot more shots according to the stats, which I completely disagreed with. I mean, the stats had Woodley up, I believe, massively in the power shot department. I just didn't agree with that whatsoever. I thought Jake Paul was outlanding him in the rounds. I had a round 1 to Jake Paul, but it was close. Round 2 to Jake Paul, but it was close. Round 3 is Tyron Woodley's round slightly because of the cut over the head. But again, that cut was opened up by an elbow from Tyron Woodley, which is very strange because Woodley had a very high guard. His elbow was up. Jake Paul was constantly ducking into the clinch of Tyron Woodley to try and stop the distance being covered and just sort of meet him in the middle rather than leaning back and getting clipped with a big punch over the top. So he tried meeting Tyron Woodley in the middle of the clinch. Got hit with an elbow as he ducked into it. Absolutely accidental. But Woodley landed a bunch of headbutts on him. Constantly happened throughout the fight as well. Jake Paul didn't really complain. Woodley then, after the 4th round, where I believe he lost that round as well in a very close round, it went to Jake Paul. I had it 3-1 Jake Paul going into the 5th round in the second half of the fight. Maybe at best for Woodley 2-2. There's no way Woodley was winning going into that 5th round. And Woodley kept headbutting him, but then Woodley goes for a fucking takedown. Like, I guess to embarrass Jake Paul and just show this would be what would really happen if we were to actually throw down, but you're protected under these rule sets. But, like, you're lucky you didn't get a point taken away because you literally intentionally took him down to the canvas. And also, now you've been flatline KO'd. So that's really backfiring on you. But either way, Fifth round was pretty close. I also gave that maybe to Woodley, but it could also go to Jake Paul. Very close round, though. I could see it going to Jake Paul. Landed a couple of good body shots, a couple of good headshots as well. Combination punches were all in Jake Paul's favour. Woodley would land a couple of big overhands now and again. He landed a flush right hand over the top of Jake Paul's jab in the first round. Cracked him really badly. I mean, Woodley landed some really good shots this fight. Shots to the body, shots upstairs, some uppercuts in close, some big overhands that landed clean on Jake Paul's chin, but I'm telling you, Jake Paul's kind of got a chin. You can see it just genetic-wise. He's got a massive head, a massive neck, and he's got a big old jaw as well, and a big old forehead. That's perfect stabilization for taking shots. And Jake Paul flatline KO'd Woodley. And it wasn't rigged. I think you're dumb if you think it was. He set him up perfectly. I mean, the whole point was, in the first fight you saw this, Jake Paul would go to the body, and Woodley would parry body shots. And he does this in MMA as well. He parries shots. He meets shots with his hands. He puts his hands out there as he leans backwards, and it gets him out of danger. And it works for him most of the time. He started trying to parry the jab of Jake Paul to stop it landing to the body so much, because Jake Paul, again, every single combination pretty much starts with a jab to the body. He'll throw a jab to the body, then a right hand upstairs, a jab to the body, then an overhand upstairs. I mean, Textbook feint, set him up the whole fight long, throwing those jabs to the body. Tyron Woodley was parrying it low the entire time, trying to catch the jab and throw his own shots back, which you should just never really do in boxing, right? Like, maybe in MMA where it's a bit more effective to play that shot-for-shot game because of the KO power in 4-ounce gloves. Maybe you can try and catch a shot and throw one back, but arguably if the jab is going to your body, move out of range of it, or don't really try and parry it and bring your guard down. At least maybe tuck your elbow. You're a shorter guy anyway. Tuck your elbow into it, try and catch it off the elbow so it doesn't land on the liver. Hunch over into it and sort of just smother the power of the shot maybe, but no. His left hand comes down, just as Jake Paul's right hand's going over the top. He's already gassed out as well, because again, he took the fight on short notice. And Paul fucking put him out cold. And I don't think it was rigged, but I will say this. Woodley, it wasn't rigged. Woodley looked like he was going to cry. I felt really, really bad. Really bad for Jake Paul. Not for Jake Paul. I felt good for Jake Paul. I felt bad for Tyron Woodley because you could see on his face, he was like, oh no, did I really get flatline KO'd? Like, I maybe expected a loss could happen, but don't let it be a flatline KO out of nowhere. I'll never have my fucking... People will never accept me as part of the culture anymore. You know what I mean? There was a lot on the line for Woodley here against Jake Paul. He had to right the wrong, do it for the culture, beat Jake Paul's ass, do it for fucking Twitter, which is completely on Woodley's side because it's Twitter. But either way, Jake Paul flatlined him. You could see that Woodley was fucking destroyed by it because, yeah, not good for him whatsoever. But Jake Paul landed good combinations, you know, a couple of good shots in a row. 1-2s to the head, a couple of stiff jabs landed from Jake Paul as well. A couple of body shots, 2 for 2 on the body. Boom, boom. And then he'd come upstairs and throw a jab and then exit. Like, Jake Paul had some good boxing out there. He's visibly improving every single fight. He got cut over the forehead again from that elbow, and that was leaking down into his eyes, and he still managed to fight through it and get the job done. Woodley kept headbutting him. Woodley got the takedown. I'm just covering all the bases here before I move on to what happens next. He called out Masvidal and Nate Diaz, who, by the way, why are MMA fighters such pussies, dude? They left the arena just before the main event. Why? They left the arena the second the main event began. Woodley's there. Masvidal, aren't you friends with Woodley? Aren't you going to support him in his fight against Jake Paul? They left the arena so that Jake Paul couldn't call him out afterwards. I just don't fucking... They are some bitches, I guess. Because maybe it's because they know they can't fight him, so if Jake Paul called him out and the camera was on them, boxing would love that to shame the MMA fighters that wouldn't take the fight with Jake Paul because they're under contract from the UFC. If the camera went to them, they couldn't say, yes, let's go, because they genuinely can't fight Jake Paul. So I guess they left because of that, to avoid any of the awkward moments where they're just saying, no, I'm under contract, and trying to mouth that to the camera over the screaming crowd. But Jake Paul was hyped up in the post-fight interview. He called out Masvidal, he called out Nate Diaz and said he'd fuck him up. He said he was going to fuck up Woodley about 50 fucking times on the mic afterwards. Said that Tommy Fury was scared. I still believe the Tommy Fury fight is the way to go. And I also believe that it's not just about the opponent of Jake Paul now. At the start it was. I think Jake Paul's just his own thing now. That KO, that'll go viral. That'll get millions and millions of views. 100%. He'll get more followers. He's probably gaining followers by the second right now as we speak. What a brutal fucking KO. People are saying, swear that was fake. What the fuck? What the fuck? Like, if they were to fake a fight, they made it the most boring 6 rounds you've ever seen of hugging, and then the most brutal KO you've ever seen. And I might just say that as well. I don't remember a more brutal KO in boxing. I know it's very low level, and it's not a great KO because there's nothing on the line. There's no championship belts. There's nothing like that. But I've seen a lot of boxing highlight KOs where someone gets dropped and they don't get up in time, or they get dropped and they're dazed on their back and they're looking up like, oh, I can't get up. But that was a brutal KO. Like, that was one of the most brutal boxing KOs I've seen. Big shot, span his head around, spit went everywhere, liquid from his head went everywhere as well. Absolute fucking sudden, flatlined on the canvas. Jake Paul gets it done, and next for Jake Paul is probably Tommy Fury. I think he could get the rematch. I think he's bought himself more time to train and prepare for that matchup as well. Tommy Fury, if he comes back, is going to be fighting through an injury. So he's going to come back after an injury. He's not going to be in peak condition. He's going to have to rush himself back in there. If I was Jake Paul, I would say, hey, Tommy Fury, I know you recover from your rib injury in February, but let's go April. You know what I mean? Like, don't give Tommy Fury time to breathe. Literally, because he's got a broken rib. Don't give him time to recover. Get him right back in there in April, and if he says no, he's ducking you again. That would be the play I'd make if I was Jake Paul. I'd rush Tommy Fury back in there before he's ready. Maybe Tommy Fury has to take the first few weeks of the training camp off of sparring because he doesn't want to hurt his rib again, and he only gets to spar for like the last few weeks or something like that. Jake Paul beats him, maybe. I'd still pick Tommy Fury to beat him. I just think people that have grown up boxing, it doesn't matter how good your hands are in MMA. Like, if you've grown up boxing, you can box. Like, boxing is different from punching. That's what I've learned over the past few years. And I'm going to keep following that thesis. I think Tommy Fury's better than Tyron Woodley. I think he's better than Jake Paul. And I think he'd beat Jake Paul. Unless he got flatline KO'd, of course. But there is obviously the elephant in the room. Or the needle in the room, I could say. He was on roids. Woodley was probably on roids as well. Because people act like Woodley's never been on roids. I want you to type in right now. And I'm going to do it with you. Tyron Woodley Strike Force. Okay? Just type in Tyron Woodley Strike Force and then go to Google Images. Woodley's been on roids before. That was not my real laugh, okay? Woodley's been on roids before. I just realised how weird that sounded. Sound like a fucking dog. What am I doing? I'm holding back a laugh, sarcastically. But Tyron Woodley's on roids. Like, in this picture. In his Strike Force days. So if Woodley didn't take roids for this one, he's dumb as fuck. Jake Paul took him. He looked in much better shape. He obviously had the better cardio because he had a full camp. And he flatlined Woodley out cold, and he's just bought himself more time to get better. He's still fresh to the game. He'll keep improving. And eventually he'll beat Nate Diaz and Masvidal. Another 6 months of training. Like, that's like a quarter of his fucking training time. You know what I mean? Like, people don't realise the amount of growth he's going to have in these next few months and these next few years. If he takes things slowly, maybe even gets the... Well, he can't get Nate Diaz now because he extended his contract. But if he gets like a matchup with Tyron Woodley... Not Tyron Woodley. Tommy Fury. That'll buy him another 6 months or 5 months or something like that. Honestly, he could right now call out Dylan Dennis. Me and Dylan Dennis. March. Immediately next year. People will watch it. That face-to-face interview they do... I wasn't interested in Woodley versus Paul 2. I was after that face-to-face interview. It was funny. It was good. It was good promo. You put them on a promo, Jake Paul and Dylan Dennis, it's going to get a few million views. It's going to create hype for the fight. And he'll probably KO Dylan Dennis as well. He can do whatever he wants. People are saying fight real boxers. Fight a guy who's an undefeated world champion in boxing or you're not a boxer. Like, no contender in boxing is a boxer until they fight for the belt. It's really weird, skewered fucking beliefs that people have about Jake Paul. But, you know, good KO win from him. I'm not complaining. I was entertained at 5 a.m. UK time, and Woodley might just be done. Good KO from him. He'll only improve and only get better. You've got to get him while you can. Otherwise, he's going to keep improving. And he's got the options. Floyd Mayweather is an option. As much as people don't like to admit that, he is an option right now. And, I mean, after watching Floyd versus Logan, I mean, people say rigged there as well. But if that was a real fight, I don't mind Jake Paul's chances. And if it was rigged, why wouldn't they rig a Jake Paul fight close as well? So I don't mind his chances either way in that one. And also Logan Paul himself. Also an option. Also, to the UK fans of YouTube, KSI would be flatline KO'd by Jake Paul. Stop talking about it. See it in the comments of KSI's videos and all the posts in the UK sphere of YouTube. KSI swings like a fucking spastic. He's shit at boxing. He's fucking terrible. All of the other people have improved, other than KSI. We haven't seen him box, now fair play, but if you don't have that experience, you're not going to be better than Jake Paul. He's going to whoop KSI if they fight. Like, don't even make it happen. If you're a KSI fan, don't mention it to him, because he doesn't want that work, and he'll get KO'd. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Toodle pip, I'll see you later. Goodbye. I called Paul by KO as well. I said it would happen. It happened. Goodbye.